6:30 p.m. Mr. Schenkel, can you roll?
Mr. West.
Present.
Mrs. Werke.
Here.
Mrs. Paprocki.
Here.
Mr. Rivera. Here. Mrs. Gray.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Before I do that, or before we approve tonight's agenda, just I emailed the board this morning, so just want to bring a motion forward to the board. Tonight, I'd like to bring a motion.
Corey, are you asking to amend the agenda?
Yeah, I mean, well, right, yeah, I'd like to do it prior to approving it, correct.
So first you call to amend the agenda and where you want it placed on the agenda.
Okay,
And then we'll,
sure. I'd like to amend it prior to the approval process.
amend the agenda.
Amend the agenda.
Yeah, amend the agenda. We can put it under new business if we could.
Okay.
After,
So
You have to make a motion to amend the agenda.
right, that's what I, okay.
Add
All right,
policy.
I'll make the motion to amend the agenda.
Okay, do we have a second for the motion made to amend the agenda to place a new policy?
No, not a policy, just a motion to add additional, per my email, additional outside service for the 25-26 school year.
To add the service.
Yeah, so the board to look at it and vote on it to move forward with that.
To amend the policy?
No, I'm not putting a policy, no.
Okay, so I'm a little confused here, just, can we talk through this? Okay, so currently this is not on the agenda and you want to add a discussion?
Correct, a motion to add a discussion.
So you want
Amend
to
it.
add a discussion to
Sure.
the end of the agenda of tonight's business meeting?
No, not to the end, no, prior to the end. We can do it under old business too, because it kind of goes back to last month as well.
So your motion is to amend the agenda to add a discussion at the end of old business.
Sure. That's
Related
we can put it there.
Related to the policy?
Sure, we can put it,
there.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Do we need to, if it's just a discussion, do we need to amend the agenda since we are having a policy, since we're reviewing what was on the agenda last month?
But I will bring a motion for the board to consider adding outside services when it comes to investigations, so. I'm not sure if you want to add that. It wouldn't necessarily be a policy, but.
Well, it does change our policy, so I think it would be a motion
Okay,
to
Okay,
look at the policy.
okay,
and
that's fine. We can do it that way.
So do we have a second to add a discussion related to the policy JFCF follow-up? I don't think we actually need to make that second. I think we can just do it at that time.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I mean, as long as the discussion is related to the specific policy of JFCF, if the discussion is not related to policy JFCF, then I don't,
It would be. It relates to bullying and different things like that, so it would be.
is that policy JFCF?
Yes, that's the bullying and harassment policy. So, we'll have a discussion at the end regarding, what you want to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
So, do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
We have discussion. All right, Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mr. West.
Yes.
Mrs. Werke.
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera. Yes. Mrs. Gray.
Yes. All right, I'd like to call for a moment of silence as we consider the safety of our students traveling to Washington DC right now and any other business related to the school. Thank you. And we have a little change to the agenda as we have Principal Wendy Flynn coming to say the pledge because the assistant principal, who's on the agenda, is actually traveling with our DC kids. So
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Mrs. Flynn, you'll welcome our Student Achievement of the Month.
Will, yes. All right, so all of the teachers and middle school students that are here, if you'll come stand in front of me, please. And as they're coming, yeah, sure. Thank you. All right, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Wendy Flynn. I'm the principal at Goshen Middle School. I am finishing up my 10th year here. And tonight we are going to present, I'm sure you can see, some of these students do not attend the middle school. Some of them are much smaller and some are much older than the kids in our school. But we thought it was really important to highlight just the common thread that we try to weave from kindergarten through 12th grade as a middle school. And so I just wanted to tell you that we are going to focus on service leadership tonight. And this crew has a great many things to say about that. So.
Good evening. My name is Brooke Whitley. I'm a 6th grade intervention specialist at GMS. We're here tonight because we're just so proud of our students, and we just wanted to share what we're proud of with them through their servant hearts, how they pay it forward, and how they grow with gratitude. So I feel like this is such something we weave within our community so deeply, and we just wanted to continue to show that with our kids and to build that within them. So one of the first things that we do as our team is we do what we call campus cleanup. So every homecoming and every spring, we take all the kids outside. We get trash bags, we pick weeds, we throw trash in the trash bags, and here are our selfies to prove it. We do this for points. It's a little competition, but it's also just to show the kids that we want to serve others. So I have a wonderful student here with me who's going to share as well.
Hi, I'm Jenna, and I'm in 6th grade at GMS. I love campus cleanup because it helps us take care of our space and appreciation what we have. Thank you, Jenna.
So then another one that we did at Christmas time was we did candygrams for cancer, where the kids could send each other these really nice notes, and then there are candy canes attached to them, and then the money that we made went to cancer research for kids. So I have a student, she's in DC as well, so she's here to speak.
She was so sad that she could not be here.
So sad.
So we told her we would record her and play her video. Awesome.
Okay, Kylie. So what has been your favorite service learning project that we've done at GMS?
My favorite learning project so far has been the cancergrams that we did during Christmas time and our preschool yearbook activities that we recently have been doing this year.
How do you think service learning has impacted you as a student and person?
Service learning has impacted myself and GMS as people to show that we are not by ourselves and that we can have the opportunity to step in other people's shoes and realize what they're going through and give them that chance of hope to help them when they need it.
Thank you.
And then another one that we just got finished doing was we had all of our students in the middle school write notes for our Spalding and our Markup kids. And they were just testing motivation cards, just wishing them their best luck on the test. And they were really sweet. So we have a video for that.
Hi, my name is Pearl. I just want to say thank you for the math testing motivation because I had my test of math and my teacher gave me out these cards and wished me good luck so I could do good on my test. GMS, thank you for the LSD testing motivation card. It really helps people in my school, especially with the test. It helps me stay focused and work out on my problems and do my best on the test. I just want to say to GMS that they're so thoughtful of giving them, and it really actually really helps me on the test. It gave me good luck, and it made me do the paper on all the questions and remember to take my time even though other questions are hard and others are easy.
Don't worry, I don't know what it's like to have technical difficulties.
I know, right? I always scroll too. All right.
Hello, I'm Shelley Durazio, and I'm the Family Engagement Specialist for the district. And one of the big things is growing with gratitude and teaching our kids that it's not only giving back, it's not only receiving, it's also giving back, and what that means to each and every one of them. And so this year I've gotten the opportunity to co-advise with Missy Myris, the Leo Club, which is a brand new club here to Goshen. And I have two of our Leo Club members. Will you guys come up? And Milton, would you say your name?
I'm Leah McRoberts. I'm the president of the Leo Club. I'm Agata Lipshova.
And what's your name? Milton.
I just know whatever I think, but I just know.
So some examples that we have done through Leo Club is the Holly Fair. We were able to give back there. We also did a holiday event. I don't want to say Christmas, but a holiday event where we brought our preschoolers over with our Leo Club, and they were able to, what was it, Milton? Did you go on what did you go on?
I don't know.
Field trip. They were able to go on a field trip and actually come and get to do a bunch of different things. We made cookies, we made reindeer food, and then we did the same thing again in the springtime, and we did springtime and sunshine, and it was just amazing. Do you guys like to say something?
Okay, well, I think that the preschooler project was a really fun and entertaining project. I loved working with my buddy right here. I feel like it was a great opportunity for the preschoolers to get to socialize with people out of their age range, I guess. I just feel like it was an awesome, very thought through project for the Leo Club.
The Holly Fest was a festival that the high school does. It's like a craft show, and all the Leo Club members helped out with that right here in the high school. I feel like that was an amazing opportunity for the Leo Club members to get to know people around Goshen and get to help out in the community.
Hello, I'm Missy Myris. I see a lot of friendly faces here. I'm an intervention specialist here at Goshen Middle School. Not only have I had the opportunity to work with these wonderful students and colleagues, but recently we've also been working on a huge project at our middle school cafeteria. It's what we call our GMS cafeteria renovation project. And so this part of our presentation is all about paying it forward. Like you've heard earlier from Brooke and Shelley, that so many things that we do just encompass what it is to be a warrior. I always say every day, It's a great day to be a warrior. I love waking up. I love going to work. I love that my kids are here. And I love the sense of community that we have here. It is like no other. And it's just a pleasure to be here and the opportunities that are given to our kids in our community. This project, there has been countless hours given by staff, students, community members. It's been pretty incredible. So we're going to introduce a few people here, a few students here, and they're going to talk about their experiences with the project, and we'll go from there. So Raven Slagle would be first if you want to come up and talk about your experience. What have you enjoyed about painting in the cafeteria?
I really liked volunteering in painting the cafeteria after you gave me that opportunity because it let me become friends with Phoebe and become friends with other people and grow other friendships.
Awesome, thank you. Vivian is Raven's sister. Come on up, Vivian. So Vivian has done a lot of work for us in the cafeteria. We have what we call houses in the middle school. Brooke talked a little bit about the point values that are given. We do so many initiatives throughout the school year as far as every student is designated to a house. And she has very time-consumingly, I don't know, you probably have over, 100 hours painting in the cafeteria. Painted each crest of our houses onto our cafeteria wall. So if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, my name is Vivian Slagle. I'm a high school senior and I'm going to go to Berkeley next year. I'm going for fine arts practice. And I have lived in Goshen my entire life. My family is from Goshen, and Goshen has done an impossible amount for me. But a lot of kids here are kind of in survival mode, whether because of their financial situation or something going on at home. And, you can't get every single kid the individual attention to tell them that they can go and do something great. And I think having these kinds of things around Goshen, promoting the idea that kids from Goshen can go to these Ivy League schools is really wonderful. Getting to work on the project really reminded me of how much Goshen did for me. And also, I truly believe that this mural service is the reason I got into Berkeley. I'm impossibly thankful for it.
Caitlin Landers, and she's also helped with our cafeteria painting, and I've also snagged her for some painting projects in my room. Want to talk about what's your favorite thing that's been for the cafeteria?
My favorite thing that I've done in the cafeteria is painting meatballs. It's been really peaceful and an escape from school, but still in school.
Good. I have a quick question. Is that your art piece that you have?
Yeah, sure. Incredible. So she is an extremely talented artist, and if you were able to come to the art show a few weeks ago, Caitlin had 4 or 5. How many pieces do you have? Okay. I saw a lot. There was a lot of art. She is very, very talented. This is, she's just done really well, and she's donated a lot of her time too, and that's been really special. So.
The kids that have come out of their shells through this has just been absolutely amazing. And seeing the talent that we've seen, it's just wonderful.
All right, go ahead, Phoebe.
So my name is Phoebe Myers, and I will be in GMS next year. It was fun painting the cafeteria, and I even made a new friend, Raven. And what I liked most about it is, even though it took a while, but it was a peaceful thing to do, and it was a nice thing to do for our community, and I enjoyed it.
Really awesome thing about the cafeteria project is that so many people have come together. There was a vision from Jen Meek, our art teacher at the middle school, and she was like, hey, I think we should do this. And I was like, okay, no problem. Let me call Todd Schenkel. And so Todd got right on board, and he was extremely supportive. And that helped us out. So once we started painting, then it was like so many people had ideas. Emily Slagle was like, hey, I think it'd be cool to have lighting. I'm like, okay, let me get on that. I want to contact the Education Foundation. And then so like, here's the Education Foundation providing us with lighting. And then Michael Ray was like, hey, I think we need TVs. I'm like, all right, I'm on it. I said, so we reached out to businesses and like Stiles and Sons. They've been like extremely generous. Buechner Insurance Group, Tug Brock from Auto Works Towing, they've all generously have agreed to provide an 85-inch television for our cafeteria. I'm hoping to get maybe one or two more. My prayer. We're going to make this place look sweet. But what we're hoping to do with it is to have a space for not only for our kids to come in for the cafeteria and have a great place just to relax and have lunch and just connect with friendships. We can utilize this space for professional development opportunities. We can use it for classroom opportunities. We can use it for if our teams or a house, like they have initiatives or rewards or games, we can use the TVs to set up gaming centers or to show March Madness games. I mean, the possibilities are endless or just to have a great place for banquets, sports banquets. I mean, there are so many wonderful things that's going to come through this. And I mean, we've had community members come and build picture frames, paint. I mean, anything that's needed done, just the amount of people that have come together to make this successful, it has been enormous. And it's just been extremely we're so thankful for our kids and we're so thankful for the wonderful community that we have. So thank you for the opportunity.
We're thankful for the Energizer Bunny.
Guys, hang out here with me for a minute because we've got a certificate and a G-Pen for going above and beyond. I do want to say, anytime I need a lift me up moment, I can always go to our buildings. But the stuff that comes out of the middle school truly does the heart good. They're teaching kids the right way to act, the right way to behave, talking about, supporting our community. And this staff truly goes above and beyond. So it is very much appreciated. I will say, as a member of the Goshen Lions Club, we've tried to start that Leo Club for quite a few years under the direction of the Lions Club, but have not been successful until we had two advisors step up. And I think that program is truthfully going to grow over the years, whether it starts at the middle school and kind of leads its way to the high school. But to have the Goshen Lions Club supporting our entire community and our schools, and then have the Leo Club as part of the school district, you guys are awesome for being a part of that. So I truly thank you for being the inaugural members and stepping into community service and giving back through that club. So I do appreciate it. The middle school is rocking and rolling over there, from test scores to what they do for our kids and community, and I can't thank them enough. So today, you're going to help me here because what we've got is a certificate of appreciation and then a Goshen pin that you can put on your book bag or put it on your shirt when you go someplace. But it is for going the extra mile and doing something for others. So you guys are all getting one of those tonight as students and staff. So we'll start with.
And Jenna, tell us who's here with you.
And thank you for reminding me.
No problem. All right, Jenna Chapman. Who's here with you, Jenna?
Alyssa.
Her mom came too. Kylie's not here. She's in DC.
Okay.
Representing Leo McRoberts. Leo, who's with you? I got a.
My dad and my brother are here today. Hilton Myers, who's here with you tonight, buddy? Who's here? Mommy? Daddy? Daddy here?
Oh, Daddy's here.
My mom, my dad, and my brother and sister.
Yeah. Who's here with you tonight, Raymond?
My mother and my father.
Hi. Yes.
My awesome little sister, my mom, my dad, and my boyfriend.
All right. Mom and Dad up front here.
my dad, my grade teacher, Mrs. Anderson, and my co-host, Mrs. Stiles.
And it doesn't happen without these three. So,
Absolutely not. Byron? Thank you so much. Thank you. Mrs. Grazio? Thank you. And Miss Whitley? You guys have people here? I know you do.
Yeah, my sister, brother-in-law, sweet nieces.
so thank you guys. Thanks parents for coming out and supporting the schools and supporting kids and teachers through that process.
And I wanted to say, in the fall, we are planning to have like a reception and like a tour of our cafeteria once the TVs are up, and we have a banner that the Slagles have worked tirelessly on. So we've got a lot of moving parts in there that is still not finished. But we will have an open house and reception for everybody to come. So
Yes. Thank you.
So before we move into old business, I would like to say, someone once said to me, create a place that people are proud to go and feel proud to come from. And I think that was such a great example, right? Seeing the updates of that middle school cafeteria just makes kids so proud to be able to come from the middle school and go in there every day. Who doesn't like a nice facelift on anything, whether it's your home or your workplace? But I know that that's a lot of hours spent outside the workday, and I love that people, Missy, like you and all the others who are willing to invest time outside your workday to make our place just better to come from. Thanks. And then this is a time where you can choose to stay for old business and the rest of our agenda, or you can choose to slip out if you so choose.
I'll be slipping out.
Thank you all for attending or choosing to leave. Right. Moving on to old business, we have a review of policy JFCF, follow up by our superintendent, Mr. Bailey.
Right, so obviously last month, into the board meeting, we had some concerns during public participation and then some follow-up. So as I said to you guys as a board, there was some conversation that I would do some research, bring you back my recommendations, kind of a understanding of where our practices fall. So I've done a lot of research, reviewed a lot of things, and it's reaffirmed a lot of things for me. But I want to share that with you tonight. So in that time, I've looked into our practices. I've looked into the practices of other districts. I've been information gathered for public records requests that we received. And then we also met with all the families that spoke at the board meeting as a follow-up. I would say, from that side of it, I completely appreciate public participation, but I want to make sure that, from that board policy side, that I have an idea of those things are coming so that I can deal with them ahead of time. Because I think a lot of times we can preemptively take care of issues if they follow that proper chain. I have some answers to two, I think, resounding issues that came out of last month that were concerns about our reporting practices and then our investigation requirements. So I'm going to start with, in my research, the Board of Education adopted the model policy in December of 2007 as a state requirement. So the State Board of Education has an anti-harassment, anti-intimidation, or anti-bullying model policy. We adopted a similar one for IDEA a couple months ago. So there's a model policy by the Department of Education. It requires us to have a policy. That policy, our board policy on anti-harassment, intimidation, and bullying, has been updated numerous times over the years. But the model policy for the state of Ohio remains the same. It is the model policy. So there have been changes to our board policy, but not the model policy. So I want to share with you a little bit here. The first one is the reporting obligations. And this is straightforward. I mean, it's a 20-page document, but this is 8.0 of that section, 8.3, list of verified acts of harassment, intimidation. Go down, I'm not going to read it all to you, but the list, I provide a list to the board president. The list shall be limited to the number of verified acts of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, whether that's in the classroom, on school property, to and from school, or at the school-sponsored event. So just to make sure that I was understanding, I had Mr. Turner, I know that that's small up there, but I had Mr. Turner email the Safer School Department at the State Department of Education and Workforce. Essentially, what I did there was I gave them 3 scenarios. A student is alleged to have bullied another student. The report is followed up on and is not to be verified incident. The second one, in another situation, a student C is alleged to have bullied another student. The report is followed up on and is verified as a bullying incident resulting in an out-of-school suspension. Scenario 3, student is alleged to have bullied another student and is verified as a bullying incident resulting in an out-of-school suspension. For the purposes of reporting as required to the board president semi-annually, the district identifies 2 incidents of bullying and results in disciplinary action. The resulting report is because the resulting discipline is for 2 students and verifiable incidents, as it would be recorded and loaded into EMIS. As part of our total report shared, it appears as follows, and that's kind of the way our report shows to you guys. In this scenario, have I reported accurately and included what I understand to be required? Received a return email from Jill Jackson from the Department of Education and Workforce. Thank you for contacting the department. Based on the information shared below, you've indicated 2 bullying incidents. 1 is alleged to have bullied another student. The report is followed up on, is verified, resulting in an out-of-school suspension. Student C is alleged to have bullied another student and is verified. Bullying incident resulting in out-of-school suspension. As a result, you reported 2 out-of-school suspensions for the bullying, harassment, intimidation, and EMIS. Reporting is based on the number of verifiable incidents, as discipline incidents would be recorded and loaded into EMIS, and the heading below requesting the number of verified school discipline cases. She said, I hope this is helpful. The second part of it, so I do feel like our reporting to the state and the report that I provide to you on a semi-annual basis is correct through the model policy and through what the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce is requiring of us. The second part of it in the model policy is investigation. The investigation, 7.211, the principal and his or her designee shall be promptly notified of any formal or informal complaint of suspected harassment, intimidation, or bullying. Under the direction of the building principal and his or her designee, all such complaints shall be investigated promptly. And then it goes through about what we do in that investigation and what we should complete as far as written investigation, such reports, fact-finding. Those are things that we're doing, and we share those with individual families, and the individual student discipline files or individual student files. Our policy states the investigation, the principal or designee is notified. Under the direction of the building principal designee, all such complaints are investigated. So this is the regulation under JFCF. So in both of these, it is saying our principals are the mandatory investigators or their designee, which designee to me is my assistant superintendent, director of student services in the building. That's sometimes assistant principal, could be guidance counselor, depending on how we're doing things. So in both of the policy and the model policy, it is stating our principal should be doing the investigation. I really feel good about, and I have in the past, about what we do as far as our anti-bullying policies and programs. I want to reiterate that to the board that I feel confident that we're doing the required reporting procedures for students and staff and parents. our investigation, we gather evidence on all three elements of bullying, and I'm not going to go into the hierarchy of what is determined as bullying, but you have to have and. We communicate with families throughout the process accordingly. I'm going to say at times we're not perfect in some communication, but we learn from it. When we don't communicate appropriately, I would expect parents to call us on that and let us talk through it because it's not done intentionally. Appropriate disciplinary measures for verified and unverified cases occur. I would like to, for those in the board to understand, when we have an incident where a student is mean, rude, disrespectful, whatever it might be, and it's brought to us the first time, we deal with it. And there's discipline for that. If a student is disrespectful to another student where it needs out-of-school suspension, in-school suspension, whatever it might be, there are discipline codes for that. So as we investigate that, and it's the first time, it doesn't mean we have to wait till it's bullying to discipline. Kids are disciplined as part of that investigation process. I feel like our intervention programs and counseling services for student conflict are, they're solid. I mean, between Child Focus, Catalyst, our counselors, our teams at the middle schools, our teachers in the buildings, when we're able to communicate that and intervene when we see student conflict, because, I look at today's society and there's conflict between adults, there's conflict between students. I really stress that what the middle school tries to do, what we try to do K-12 with our positive behavior supports is teach kids how to treat each other appropriately. Are we always perfect at that? We're not. I don't think any human's perfect, but I do feel like our intervention programs and the services we do to intervene keep those numbers from truly being bullied. We provide age-appropriate prevention education at all grade levels. Our staff is regularly trained on recognizing and addressing bullying. And the practices that build a community and promote effective communication is seen throughout our K-12 experience for our kids to make sure that they, if you look at a portrait of a graduate and you start talking about socially responsible, effective communicators, we're drilling that with kids every day and with families every day, and we're trying to make them better people as they go through our system. My recommendations at this point, with that all known, is to continue our positive behavior intervention supports, continue working in the buildings to find ways similar to the GMS houses, to the middle or the PBIS that just got silver at Spalding, and down to our littlest warriors, and then obviously at the high school as we work with older students. We have sources of strength. We have all the pieces at the high school, our 8K, all the different pieces to make sure, even at the high school level, that we're providing students that opportunity. I think we need to continue educating staff, students, parents on anti-bullying strategies and understanding what bullying is and what it is not, and how do we work through that process together, because we're here to be advocates for every kid at Goshen local schools, not adversaries for our teachers. So that's what we need to do. We need to be advocating for every kid. My staff does. I know that for a fact. I couldn't have a better administrative team, couldn't have a better set of teachers in the classroom to do that with kids. If we know about an incident, we deal with it. If we don't know about it and it comes 6 months later, it's hard for us to backtrack 6 months and figure things out. But we'll do it. We look into every case that we can. The only thing I can say is, we can look into reporting. Again, as I explained to you, I'm reporting what is required of me by our policy and by the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. I think I could look at our semi-annual reports, looking at reporting incidents on the mid-year, a number of reported incidents on the mid-year and end-of-year reports. I think I'd have to formalize a process for this because, as you guys know, complaints can come in informally, they can come in anonymously, they can come in formally, could be a conversation with the teacher. So we have those, all of those are dealt with. If I took that chart and said number of bullying complaints reported and then verified on the other side of it, if that seems to be a clear way to present the data, I would again have to formalize a process with my administrative team to do that. That is something that I will look at over the summer. is it possible within that to make sure that we're capturing everything in there? Because the last thing I want to do is report inaccurate data. So I want to make sure that I have a source that allows me to accurately report that. So, those three recommendations. And then finally, continue to follow board policy and our ODO model policy, as administrators are required to follow these as part of our district policy and the educator code of conduct standards. That's a licensure piece. Those are things that we have to do as administrators, as teachers, whatever it might be. So keeping that investigation with the people that know our kids, that work with our kids on a daily basis, that work with our family on a daily basis. That's my recommendation there. And then finally, I would ask that, as my principals work with families and as board members here have concerns brought to them as families, there is an appeal process for discipline or other complaints that's in our board policy. As I said, we're not always going to have people agree with everything that we say. Again, we're trying to do everything in the best interest of every kid and take everything into consideration. But that board policy that I'm referring to is the board believes that complaints and grievances are best handled and resolved as close to the origin as possible. The staff should be given the opportunity to consider the issues and attempt to resolve the problems prior to involvement by the board. Therefore, the proper channeling of complaints involving instruction, discipline, or learning materials will be as follows: the employee, the principal, then to the superintendent, and then to the Board of Education. Should be the way that concerns or complaints are brought. I feel like it's our responsibility to look out for Goshen kids and the future of Goshen. I trust our staff to work with our families to do what they do best, and that's take care of all Goshen students. So, those are the things that I was asked to bring was investigations. I can say there is no other school district having other people do their investigations that I found in the state of Ohio within my network. I do feel like it does require a policy change if we were going to do anything with it, because our policy clearly states it. I'd have to understand if I can break away from the Ohio Department of Education model policy that we're expected to follow as well. So I do feel like, again, our staff, my administrators, my administrative team at central office, do an incredible job of taking care of our kids in tough situations. And there are things that come out of some of those bullying investigations or different investigations that I wouldn't want an outside party hearing or talking about with kids. So I'm your superintendent. That's my recommendation as I look at policy and as I look at the next steps for us as a district. So at this point, I think that's the end of my presentation. If you want to go into discussion of the amended agenda or questions of me, I'm happy to do that now.
So the agenda didn't get amended, but I think this was the area that we felt was most appropriate to have a discussion related to the recommendation of our superintendent and Corey, whatever discussion you would like.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. To me, that does make sense. My opinion or my recommendation is just that we take it a step further and just allow, either best probably would be outside services that are trained by law. They're trained, with Board of or with the education, Ohio Education. So this is, what they do. And so they obviously would follow the laws and they would follow, any type of recommendation or any type of school policies or any type of laws of Ohio. So these folks would do that. My recommendation is just to have someone that is not attached, and free up the teacher's time. Not saying that they're not doing a good job. Not saying my perspective would be to allow the full transparency of an investigation. And you guys can do yours investigation on your own if you want to. But I think it'll reduce a lot of questions potentially towards the administration. It'll free up their time to do other things as well. So I would just recommend that as a board, we look at bringing in someone, a company that could do those investigations by policy, by law, create that transparency, create, the avoidance of whether it's real or perceived of not a conflict of interest or having, connections inside the investigation. It is sometimes difficult to investigate friends, relatives, people that you know for a while. So, my thought would be if we could have someone come in and investigate separately. And their findings would put our administration in a better spot, because then it's looked at as a full transparent. Nobody had anything to do with it that's local or maybe related. So when they come back with their findings, then there really could be no pushback, I think, either from the parents if it comes back that it's not a bullying case.
My concern with that is just like student privacy too. I mean, don't you think that, I would be concerned that, yeah, you know, that, I know obviously I mean, I know that you did, unfortunately not follow policy and emailed all of us, which is a violation of the Sunshine Law to
It's not an email, you just can't respond to it. I can inform you guys, which is why I put, so it's not a violation.
Well, it actually is.
It's not.
It is. You should not email all of us and ask us to support something, but
Well, then I would be accused of not bringing it to you prior, so I guess I'm screwed if I do or if I don't. So it's not a violation, we just can't communicate or vote on it.
Can we have a discussion on what we're looking at right now?
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a few.
Therefore, yes, I just would think it would be a, yes, okay, never mind.
Well, again, like I said earlier, with the legalities and whatnot, these folks are trained in the law and they do
At
this
what
stuff by
step
law.
would you propose engaging?
My thought is when it's reported.
So every time
Well,
somebody has a complaint that,
I mean, right, to create that transparency, if they look at it and they deem that there's no bullying, then that's what is reported to the parent.
okay. And we don't,
Corey, I have.
these are the, and these, you said you could get us numbers though. We don't have that currently, but you could get us numbers. You could say, report.
My concern with
Twice
that
a
is
year.
the word monthly and having a
Oh,
third.
no, I'm just talking about how
Yeah.
many complaints. I mean, how many,
I don't have that database, and that's where I said if that is the number, could I, and again, I'm not gonna guess at a number. But I could tell you the number of emails or phone calls or in passings that word is said.
you have to
That's a
you have to
full-
respond quickly.
Yes.
So when you get an outside agency to do it, then sometimes that's going to be.
These kind of things come to us Friday afternoon at 1:00, and we deal with it.
Yeah.
And it is dealt with at that time. At least both parties are involved, and I don't, yeah.
I have a few questions. Child focus and catalyst. How much are they involved in this?
They're involved in the
process?
intervention process when we have two students that have conflict or students that are struggling. There are groups, there are conflict resolution groups that they run. There are different ways that they step in and intervene with our kids.
The victim
When
and
they're
the aggressor.
both. Just depends on the situation and how they can be utilized, yes.
Okay.
That's
They're,
what, I think that would be my recommendation, if maybe we could, if there a way we could use them more to, as prevention or intervention,
well, I'm
that.
telling you that we are using them for that.
And that is,
So if we feel like, if there's concerns from our parents and community that we're missing some, is there an opportunity to increase that? That would be just.
Again, I think I would go back to that if there is complaints or appeals on discipline, follow the appeal process. And would that involve a separate investigation? Absolutely. Again, I feel like my staff does what they need to do on these situations. If there was an appeal of a bullying investigation, I would find a third party, whether it be internally or your current board's attorney, to have somebody that could do a separate investigation on that. I think it rests on our administrative team and our staff to make sure that we're taking care of kids.
So any parent, right, as of right now, any parent who would have concern that there was conflict of interest or some of the things that Corey mentioned, they could appeal the ultimate decision. and then that would
Sure. I
be
mean,
followed up.
Any decision on that, I mean, if we discipline a student for bullying and the parents don't agree with it, there's an appeal process for discipline. So again, I think that is concerns or complaints that would follow the proper chain of command. If they're not happy with the outcome, they voice that to the principal. If the principal can't make it clear, it comes to me. I listen to it, understand with my staff where we're at with it. And again, to me, if we have 20 cases of bullying that are on that end of the year bullying report, we're not dinged by the state. It's not an issue. I have a problem when we have 20 that we've got to look at what we're doing internally to intervene and make sure that we're not dealing with this fast enough with 2 kids that it's getting to that point. Although outside social media and things that go on outside of school bring their way back into school. So, right now, all transparency, we have 5 verified bullying this year. 4 of those occurred before we started this conversation in April. So there are 4 disciplined bullying cases that are on this year's report since December. 5 of them, 4 of them occurred before we had this conversation in April. So I know that we're following an investigation process. I know that the outcome is, but does suspension and discipline stop that situation? No, it's the intervention that my staff does and that our different advocacy groups in the building work with families and students to make sure, whether it's a safety plan in place or a plan in place to keep the students apart, we put those in place. So in the end, we're not dinged by the state of Ohio financially or slap on the wrist for the number of bullying cases. So in the end, if we have that many discipline, that's what's on the report.
I have a few follow-up that I just want to ask, because I've thought about this since I read your email this morning. One thing that in hiring like an outside agency that would come in is like the prompt, right? The prompt response is like, how prompt can they get to Goshen? Can they follow up? Can they get this stuff? That would be one of my main concerns, because you don't want to send 2 kids who are in a bullying situation back to a classroom or a space in which that's happening, right? And then with that, my second is, I know earlier last month, or since the last board meeting, Corey, you sent Brian and I an outside agency that was an attorney.
Right.
And
All of us.
my personal, as a parent, concern with that is, say your child said my child was bullying them, and then we said my child has to go in and be questioned by an attorney. I immediately am going to say, let me get my own attorney, right? My kid's not being questioned by anyone.
Yeah.
Until my attorney's present, right? Like,
Yeah,
if it's
I
attorney,
can
right?
understand, but I think
mean,
we need to work through that process though and find out what that, that's why.
what the options are.
Correct. And it's, to go back to your first point, how prompt, I don't know what I don't, we would have to ask, which is, part of the process to begin. And my thought would be the 25, 26, give us time, May or June, July, August to work.
So
She's talking about prompt response.
No, I know. I'm going to get to that. Okay. Obviously, they would address it immediately as the administration to whatever needs to happen, separation or whatever. And then if those parents request, investigation to fix, the bullying problem that it may be, that's when we would have those
Okay, but
folks come in and, I'm sorry.
you have, just-
I'll forget about it. If I interrupt,
I will too.
Okay,
You
go
just
ahead.
contradicted yourself,
Okay.
because earlier you said that you wanted all the administration, employees and such taken out of the investigation process.
The investigation, right?
But right now, you just said that if there is a report of bullying, you want the administration to,
it's
yes,
not.
you just
But what
said that.
No, what I said is
And
I want the
then if they
investigation.
can't, if the administration finishes the investigation and the parents are not satisfied, then an outside.
What I'm
source
saying
comes
is the
in.
administration would separate the issue first. And then the investigation process would then
They would
come.
have to investigate.
That's what
So
I'm
in
saying.
order to-
Is the administration would separate the issue to address it quickly so those students aren't going back and forth. And then we would bring in for the investigation. I'm not
Okay.
saying they would investigate. I'm just saying two
Actually,
different things.
I'm hearing all of you, and the reality is this would be a policy change, right? It would be a
Which we
change
just
to our
went
policy.
through the entire policy review and rewrite.
Yeah,
we would
I
have
mean,
to
we're
go
voting.
back.
You
Right,
just have
yeah.
to go through the one policy. It's not a big deal. You could go through you should go through policies throughout the
Yeah, I know,
entire
I'm on
year.
that
So,
committee.
yeah, you should go
Hold on,
through
I'm
that.
not finished, guys. So the reality is this would be a change to our current policy. And so we have a policy committee and there's a process form to begin the modification of a policy or a recommendation of a new policy. So it sounds like really we need to start there because there's a lot of like unknowns in the
Yeah, no,
process.
for sure. I'm okay with that, but I think as a board, we should look at it, really support it. If the transparency is there, you know, that gives a perception to the public that we are really taking it, you know, seriously.
I actually think we're very.
I think we're taking it seriously.
So I want to say I appreciate, so the state model policy has not changed since day one. Ours has changed a bunch of times.
To meet the law
So,
changes in
yeah.
district policy.
So changing it would not be, we can make it a little better or change something, whether it's procedural or whatever. I mean,
I would have to ask, there's probably legal ramifications. I mean, to
But that would
support my
be-
administrative team through that process,
Well,
you'd understand.
That would be part of the process. That's the
Correct.
process
Right.
that we have outlined, we outlined a year ago, is that in order to submit for a new policy or a modification of a policy, there's a very clear form that we work through and it goes to our policy committee so we can go through like, how does it impact us financially? How does it impact us from a school district standpoint, individual schools, how you work through that? Because there's so many questions, right?
Sure.
And we have some time, I think that's where we need to take this recommendation to is, you know, Corey, if you have this recommendation, I think taking it through the process
can
of
do
the policy committee allows all of that homework to be done. So by the time it comes back here, all of those time, you know,
Sure.
the promptness, what it looks like from a legal standpoint. I mean, I'm one parent, so I am definitely not all the parents out there, but I imagine that every parent out there, say you do have a kid and someone, you know, the word bullying is used a lot. Say someone says, Lauren Gray bullies them, right? And she gets pulled into a meeting with an attorney. I'm gonna say,
Yeah, I mean,
hold
we
on.
could look at, I think that needs to be.
My
looked at.
attorney,
Yeah.
right, I mean, that's
Sure.
part of looking
Sure.
at that whole process, so I think we gotta dot our i's, cross our t's, you know, put our periods at the end of the sentence before we bring it back here, for consideration.
Sure. No, that's good. No, I appreciate, that's what I can ask for, so I
So
appreciate it.
I just reached out to the student achievement liaison at OSBA following our last board meeting just to say, you know, hey, do you have any recommendations or what other school districts are doing? And she recommended that potentially we have a special board meeting and, you know, obviously it's a public meeting, community could be there. And so perhaps maybe that's a takeaway from this, that we have a, you know, a discussion and take recommendations and ideas and to kind of form that policy and what we do from that, you know, and like what we do. And then also, just coming up, and you guys we can pass this around, but from our board leadership institute, one of the sessions was just, it really didn't have anything to do with, it was just about a community in conflict, and it was really about selling off school buildings in a declining, oh, you can have mine if you want.
No, I meant we need more school buildings.
Oh, yeah, it was, yes, it was a completely different, it was in Holmes County, and it was like these 5 villages, and they needed to sell buildings, and they were gonna need to go into one elementary school. And anyhow, they said that, oh, we had an issue of bullying several years ago, and we follow this matrix from Orville City Schools, and you should reach out to them. So I had contacted Teresa, and I said, hey, can you send a message? And she did, and we got this. And they just said that this matrix has worked well in communicating to everyone and keeping everyone on the same page. So maybe this would be helpful to have that in that discussion. So I think maybe that could be a next step. And then if we do want to write a policy and we want to have an outside agency, that would maybe be helpful.
I mean, a public, like a public session.
Work session,
definitely,
she kind of said.
Yeah, could be
Yeah.
part of the policy process, right?
Yes.
Are you talking about when they said they had like a 30-minute meeting before the regular board meeting? That you're talking about something different?
Yeah, it was just
Okay,
something,
okay.
yeah, totally different. It was just literally, it was totally in passing. And I was just like, oh, I had no idea what it was. It was just, yeah.
Do we have
Um,
any further discussion?
No,
Oh,
it's-
yeah, I really think that we have, as we have Child Focus and Catalyst, I mean, they're not Goshen employees. We contract with them. If there's additional tools they can provide, so that's something we can consider if we get them involved earlier in the process, or keep parents involved, updated as to, okay, here's why this decision was rendered. I mean, it was not bullying or whatever, and can we get them involved in that process now? Is that part of our policy, or maybe we can tweak our policy to get them involved?
Parents should be involved in that.
No, I mean, I'm talking about Child Focus and Catalyst with,
They know
Oh,
that
that
that's.
resource is like a community resource.
you hear so many great things about
Well, and I
Mr.
think,
Turpin, and what he's
Yeah.
done, I mean, we definitely care about the kids, connect with the kids, connect with
Yeah.
parents. I mean, we have a family engagement specialist just was in here presenting,
Yeah.
Mr. Razio. If we didn't think that was valuable, we wouldn't have created that position and retained that position.
well, I know
Right?
Shelley, I
Right.
neglected to say is part of some of these supports too, so.
What's that?
Yeah.
Shelley is part of some of these supports with students as
Yeah.
well, as we
Yeah.
have conflict with students. But I would go back to that recommendation number 2 of continuing to educate staff, students, and parents on anti-bullying strategies. And that is part of what you guys are all talking about is
Yeah.
parent engagement, parents being a part of how we do this, not just at the end when there is a case and there is an investigation, but how do we avoid having
Yes.
bullying in our schools? And I think that's a huge part of parents.
Can we,
So, the input on it, I'd rather get input on how do we prevent and intervene,
Yes.
and how do we
But then
end
also-
up disciplining through an investigation.
So what about following up with all of our staff? Okay, let's say, the incidents that happened over in middle school, 8th grade or whatever, that all the staff in the district can learn, we have the training
We train them
annually
yearly.
with the staff,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then they bring it up to them, say, hey, these are the cases we had, and detail this out. This is,
Each building goes through the process of how.
lessons
staff-
learned,
staff
right? This is
requirements.
what we,
And I-
Again, I'm not, I don't want to make something smaller or bigger than it is. As a superintendent, up until last month, I had not received one email on anybody concerned about bullying. So I understand that it's out there, and I understand as you get towards the end of the school year that things have mounted and all of a sudden it's, become a bigger issue, but we don't know what we don't know in some situations. So that's where I think the communication with parents about where the processes are for intervention to begin, what the proper channel to express concerns, if kids are bringing it home, it's part of that education process. And I think that's a couple parent nights, a couple opportunities for parents to come in, hear what we do, because I got to tell you again, I'm going to go back to my recommendations and working with my administrators. I feel like we work with all of our families and support all of our kids. Sometimes you got to agree to disagree, but in the end, I know for a fact that when it is bullying, we are disciplining for it, no matter who it is. They are disciplined.
I think it says something key there too, which I like, in the end, if we get to a resolution, so maybe we can almost have maybe the best of both worlds and maybe work them together. If there potentially is still something afterwards,
Right.
that they don't, that a parent may feel, at maybe that point, if we could have a backup plan to the administration, just to make sure we did our due diligence, maybe it's the best of both worlds, and I think that would make sense
I mean,
too.
I think that should be our appeal process, right?
Right.
It's like-
Right, but I'm saying, but if
They're saying,
outside,
like,
but I mean, I would
uh,
say outside service do the appeal process. So then it's not the folks that investigated first and came up with the decision.
No,
But
I'm
no.
talking about like if it was like our attorney, they're not attached to us, they don't go to Goshen, they don't have any kids that go to Goshen or anything. They're literally, if anything goes down in the court of law, they're representing the 5 of
Right.
us in our district, right? And so.
I would just be concerned, is it a conflict? I don't know if, I would have to add.
No, they would remove themselves if there's conflict. They could,
We have-
our attorneys.
And maybe that's
large
okay.
firm.
Maybe we do that
Yes.
as a happy medium and just, and really truly just,
But I think-
protect ourselves, but also let them know that we're serious about it. And if you guys did an investigation, you said, well, no, it doesn't look like it, and the parents are happy, they appeal it, and at maybe that point, we potentially bring in just an outside person.
That's
I mean, that already
That's
is our
what-
policy.
It's not an outside person.
Our Enos Britton, your board
Well,
attorney, has on staff retired administrators that do Title IX investigations, that do any
Right,
type
that's
of
perfect.
investigation.
That's perfect.
That is
I think we have
has
it.
no
It-
tie,
it is.
and we've used that.
And
for
just this
other
here,
situations.
talking about this and bringing this up, like, I didn't know there was 2 ways to report bullying. One's one way and one's another one until this
I
process.
mean, there's
didn't-
like a handful.
No, there was like, there's 2 ways depending on the
Formal,
severity.
informal,
Teresa, you may be able
whatever.
to help me with that, but parents didn't know that. So just the awareness of having this conversation.
Having
and getting it
discussion's
out there,
great. It really
Right,
is.
so if we could just figure out how to, even if it's at the end where the administration said, hey, look, we've done our due diligence, we've looked at it, we don't think it is. Parents, you may appeal, and it's the contact that you can reach out to. They're not related, they're unbiased, they'll look at the investigation, they'll ask the questions.
Yeah.
I think that's what parents would want maybe, and just at the end, and then if the people come back and they say, no, it wasn't, well, you guys have done your due diligence, we've had an outside person look at it.
I think that is our policy.
That's
Yeah, that
what's
is-
currently in place.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, let's use it. Then let's make sure that is, and make sure it is unbiased and it's not a conflict of interest, is what I'm saying.
Right, yeah.
So I mean, that would be a
I
good
mean,
resolution.
I don't think anybody.
And we want parents to be able to speak on their children's behalf. We don't want somebody to ever feel like intimidated, disrespected on the
Well,
children.
there's a lot of
I
folks
mean,
that do, so.
Yeah, I know. And we know something like 2/3 of kids that get bullied don't report it. You know what I mean? So we encourage kids to report it. We definitely want to follow up with it. You know what I mean? Because that's, only 1 in 3 kids that report it. I mean, so we want the kids to be able to be comfortable to find somebody that they're comfortable speaking with, and that something's going to be followed up. I mean, that's for sure. We don't want
And
never
to that
want
point,
anybody to feel like they don't have a voice.
I had heard a suggestion that, maybe we do have a survey to the students to understand if they think they are being heard or not. And if we are gonna have a community forum, I think that would be good. So, maybe they feel like if they go to the office, they aren't being heard. So, I mean, can there be
There's an anonymous form.
there is a Google.
And that's where
or-
the confusion lies. So
Okay.
when I met with.
That's what
From last time.
can you explain that?
So the middle school has their own reporting, it can be anonymous, it collects their addresses sometimes, but it's more for like a check-in or if you need something. So it could be, I didn't have breakfast today, or I missed my lunch or something. It could be anything from that to so-and-so was driving me crazy, please move their classes. And they get all kinds of emails from that. So that's more like an internal middle school handling thing. That way they can just have a quick check-in with kids. Then there's actual like formal reporting of bullying. And that's,
Student
for-
safety
yes.
concerns on the website, or you can call the state tip line, and the state tip line gives it back to us. There's a multitude of ways.
You can walk in and
For-
say it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's all on our website from that standpoint, as far as our bullying communication process. List of the matrix here, we have a very similar one, just a different color
Okay,
of
yeah,
what
so good, that's
is
awesome.
conflict to root to mean to what is eventually bullying. And we try to work with families through that, because it's all an educational process. In the end, I'm going to go back to, I want to be advocates for all of our kids and families, not adversaries. Because if we're adversarial in this, it's not good for kids.
No.
So I do want to make sure that we're open and transparent, and I feel like we do. Even if there is a disagreement, how do we resolve that with the parent and make sure the kids are taken care of? Because there's always 2 sides to this. But I do, like you guys said, appreciate the dialogue, and I'm open. My door's always open. I say that, and I mean that wholeheartedly to parents, to staff, board. Open to having those conversations, because in the end, it's what we're here for, is to take care of our kids.
I appreciate that and the conversation and the discussion about it. Maybe we just look at the last part of it. If they're like Mr. Bailey said, if there's if the parents still have an issue with it, maybe that's the time that we would, at that point, reach out just to.
There
do
should
some-
be a policy committee, right?
That's
I mean,
fine.
yep, policy committee
Yeah,
meeting.
that's fine.
Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
mean policy committee in general. Policy committee meeting, I think starting there to say, here's our policy, this is what we want to look at, is probably just best because we are voting on actually the update of that
Update, yeah,
policy tonight. So,
That goes into effect, what, next month?
yes, yeah. So, I think starting there to say, how, what is this process? How's our policy doing? Is there something we want to look at? I know there's lots of things that the school is working on in general to do some outreach for the upcoming year. And I know you guys have spent lots of time over the last month on this. So really appreciate all that you were able to bring back to us from other districts and ODA and the different organizations. So any further discussion?
I don't mind being the champion of the starting it just because nobody else is. People look to us because we're doing so much better than all the other districts, and this could be another one of them, and just take it to that next level and making sure that we're, doing the best we can.
Yeah, I mean, if we have to adjust policy or whatever, you should always look at it and see if,
I mean, we're voting on a lot of adjustments of policy tonight, so,
that's.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, so moving on to new business, 8A. Public hearing for personnel savings plan. The Goshen Local School District Board of Education hereby gives public notice in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 3307.353 that it will hold a public meeting to consider the reappointment of the Assistant to the Treasurer, Ann Smith, as superannuant to the same position from they will retire from as of June 30th, 2025. Sorry, that's like a thing you have to read, so. All interested persons are invited to speak at this time. Okay, nobody's speaking, so we just will move forward and thank Ann for her service and continued service to the district.
This is a process that, and again, anytime that we have a staff member that wants to stay and, it says on their personnel savings plan, it says it is a savings to the district. They have a retired person that has all the skills and that Ann has and what she's done over her time here in the treasurer's office, but you'll see a little later, we've been provided the auditor estate award again, and that's what Todd and his staff there do a great job. So we're thrilled to have her back. But that will be voted on next month.
Yep. All right, so moving on to new business B, public participation. Mr. Scherzinger, do we have anyone sign up for public participation?
We have 2.
Okay, so I'm gonna read a quick paragraph and then we can call them forward. So each person addressing the board will give his or her name and address. Unless you're a student, please do not provide your address in that case. If several people wish to speak, each person will be allotted 2 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. Persons desiring more time should follow the procedure of the board to be placed on a regular agenda. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the Board of Education. As a board, we do listen and take notes. Please know that all subject matters that require follow-up, just as last month, will receive follow-up by someone from our administrative team. In addition, please note if information shared is in violation of any policy or requires us to move into executive session, the board is required to take immediate action at that time and move into executive session. Mrs. Scherzinger.
Caitlin Collier.
Hello, Caitlin Collier, 10256 Morrow Woodville Road, Lancaster, Ohio, 45107. Good evening. I'm speaking tonight not just as someone who cares about our schools, but as a parent and a member of this community. Like many of you, I've heard the concerns about bullying in our schools, and I want to say clearly, I care deeply about all of our kids. No one wants to see a child hurt or feel unsafe. These concerns are serious and they deserve to be addressed, but they also deserve to be handled in a way that brings us together, not tears us apart. Over the last 12 months, we've listened to a variety of orchestrated concerns, from books to bullies and everything in between. But while some of these concerns may come from a genuine place, the way they're being delivered is beginning to tear apart our community. We are starting to lose the very thing that has always made Goshen special, our unity. I want to remind everyone of who we are. We are Goshen. We are a community that rallies together in the face of hardship, and the school is the center of the community. When students need glasses, we get them. When families have never been to the dentist, we bring dental care into our schools. When cancer, illness, or unimaginable tragedy strikes, we don't look the other way, we step in. We feed our kids breakfast and lunch every day. We were among the first to respond when a tornado devastated our community, and our teachers don't just teach, they show up to games, they check in on students, and they love them like their own. That's who we are. We are warriors, not because we fight against each other, but because we fight for each other. To the parents who spoke at the last meeting, I'm not saying you don't have a reason to be concerned. What I'm saying is, if we're truly committed to protecting and supporting our children, we must come together. Real solutions require real collaboration. If your goal is to make our schools safer and stronger, we welcome you to be part of our work. But if you refuse to engage, we have to ask, what's really the goal? Let's talk, let's listen, let's fix what needs fixing. That's what true Goshen warriors do together. Thank you.
Karina Bennett. You gotta wait, I messed something up. Mr. was trying to rewind. I don't know what I did.
I can also fix a lot of technical.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Once you say your address, we start.
Okay. My name's Karina Bennett. I live at 1695 Clark Drive, Loveland. Last year, my child experienced the worst year of his life simply for existing. I won't go into detail because it's not pretty. He was relentlessly targeted, threatened with graphic violence, and assaulted an unprovoked attack by someone he once called a friend. Over a year later, he still lives with memory loss and chronic headaches. As a result of the stuff that he has been through, there have been 3 suspensions outside of school, 2 for expulsion, so things are done. When I saw another parent raise concerns online, I took notice because I understand what it feels like to want to protect your kid. But while the pain is real and deserves attention, the direction this has taken deeply concerns me. The focus no longer seems to be on finding solutions. Instead, it became about blame, about punishing adults and infringing on one of our most sacred constitutional rights, the rights to free speech. Targeting teachers and support staff who respectfully share their views in a public forum and attacking those with different perspectives feels like less like advocacy and more like adult bullying, using intimidation to force an outcome. Bullying doesn't stop with the report. It begins with the example we set. And right now, some of those examples are disappointing. I've watched a member of our own school board, someone meant to lead with integrity, post divisive, hurtful things online just because someone disagreed. What message does that send? Change starts with us, with how we speak to others, even when we disagree. Adults attacking other adults isn't setting a better example. It's repeating the very behavior we ask children to stop. And I'm sorry, but I'm not looking for a Band-Aid or a way to make sure bullies get punished. Why are we focusing on what happens after an incident instead of asking for more important question, what do we do to prevent these things? My kid deserves to have it prevented, not to be handled afterwards. I want real change. We must model respect and good behavior if we expect students to do the same. And parents, we need to stop coddling and start holding our kids accountable. Just last week, I saw a mother in this district do exactly that when her child was called out for picking on a girl. She held him accountable. That's the kind of parenting and courage I commend. What I'm asking is for a shift in mindset, less finger pointing, more respectful collaboration. We all want safe, kind schools. Let's remember why we're here to support kids, not score points. I'm asking all of us, parents, teachers, board members, to rise to a higher standard. Our kids are watching. Let's show them what real leadership looks like. Let's be better. Let's be the adults we want them to be.
Thank you both for speaking. We will follow up with both of you in regards to your outreach tonight as well. Our administrative team will. Moving on to agenda item 8, new business, C, executive session. Do we have a motion to go into executive session for the following 3 items? 1, to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. 2, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes because premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the general public interest. 3, preparing for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
So moved.
Second.
So Lisa made the motion, Corey second. Do we have any discussion?
Expect an action.
There will be action in our meeting coming out of executive session, so you're welcome to stay while we meet on the 3 of these in another space.
Markey?
Yes.
Paprocki?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Moving on to new business, D, treasurer's report. Mr. Schinkel?
Yes, first off, if we can go to the next one. I do want to say that we got our auditor state award again in 10 years. Appreciate that, but I mean, really, it's a total team effort, and like Annalise is here and Jenna. I mean, like they deserve all the best because they're the A team.
We were clapping for them, not for you.
Okay, now stand up. You need to stand up. But I mean, really, it's one of those things that in the past we never brought this up a whole lot, but when we was running the bond issues, a lot of people would come out and say, live within your budget, manage your money better. I mean, I've heard different things, and this year, I mean, we're going to hit 12 years in a row under budget, and so to me, I mean, I live in Goshen, my kids, my wife, I mean, we're all right here, and I expect that. I mean, my expectation for our district when we get an audit, whether it's me in the chair or another treasurer, we should be 100%. We should get this award. I mean, if that's not your expectations, then shame on you. So so now that's why I put that out there, because I want everyone to know, I mean, that we do spend your money wisely, and being, 12 years under budget and doing that, that tells you what the programs that we got. You see what happened here tonight with the, the presentation of middle school. We're doing great things like that because we have the funds to do it. So that's the only thing that, I want to say on there is that in the rest of the district, I mean, like athletics, the cafeteria, all the teachers, they collect fees. We go on field trips. Everyone collects money, and those are all looked at in our office. But I mean, it's really a testament to the whole district. So I just really want to take a minute. I apologize. I know everyone's waited late and all that stuff, but it's one of those things that, hey, we're doing a pretty good job here, and it's not just the treasurer. I mean, it's a team effort. So
You should absolutely take time to celebrate.
So here's where we are right now with our district. This is just general fund. So we started the year off with our $15 million. We have pulled in so far $35 million. Our fiscal year to date is 30, and you can see right now we're currently at 19,701. So our ending fund balance right now is $4.5 million compared to last year. I can tell you, on that, a big part. You can go to the next one. It's on our revenue side. If you look, what we got for 24 is 33 million, and in 25 we are now at 35.4, and the state resources at 1.6 million. Our biggest thing that transpired there is that we went to CEP, and how we code our kids is DPIA. For disadvantaged youth, we got another $1.5 million. I mean, and that's, you can see it right there on that. So our revenue's up 2.2 million, and we're sitting at 7% on that one. So on the expenditure side, next one, April of last year was at 29.5. This year we're at 30.8 million. So through April we're up 1.3 million compared to last year. We're 5%, which is basically 5%. That's just the cost of living that's going on around there. And you can see, No, that's okay. That's fine. Well, it makes me go quicker. The prior year ending fund balance is 15, and right now we're projected to 18.5, and that's where we're at right now. So we have 182 days of cash. I'm sorry, I rambled on. I should. I do want to just share, and I know you guys went to BLI, so you probably heard some of this stuff. I mean, right now, huge legislative things going on with school funding, and the biggest three, we broke out right here is House Bill 96, the fair school funding model adjustments. So right now they're looking to give us, I think it's 20. I got it on the next slide, but you don't have to. That's all right. That's all right. You don't have to put it on there. So on there, I will show you in a little bit where we're at on that. I mean, they're just giving us a little bit of money because of the budget cuts. There's also with 96, there's a 30% carryover limit. So what they do is they'll take our expenditures, and I'll just say we're almost $40 million. And if at 30%, anything above the $12 million on that number, the state can cut that. It'll go to the county board of revisions, and they can roll back our millage, even though we're at the 20 mil floor, and drop that down there. That would be a huge number for a lot of districts if you're starting to lose that type of dollar. on this for where our money comes from, I mean, the reason the state number for us is so important, they just want, 52% almost is comes from the state. So these changes that they're making is really, really, really important for us. And so we've reached out to our congressman and talked to him about like to not put in the 30% rule and to fully fund the fair school funding formula. This right here, this is this is what we're getting for student under the first House bill, $20 per student in 26 and 30 for 27. So we go up $50,000 and then we go up 25. I mean, basically 0.2%. And I think that's the thing that's so frustrating is like that's going to dip into our cash, you know, drastically when you have that kind of number there. So we'll be, you know, like this year, there's a lot going on with hearings with the Senate and stuff. So really stay tuned on this week will be a big one.
So just I mean, just on this one, this is the fair school funding plan. This is where base increase were supposed to happen. And they were supposed to account for inflation of what it costs to educate a kid. Looking at that, $20 a kid, $30 a kid is essentially flat funding when you've had inflation and you've had things happen over time. So not only are we looking at property tax revision that Todd's speaking of, whether it be House Bill 96 or Senate Bill 66, or a plethora of other property tax bills that are up there, it's all focusing on schools. And that's where we're at. So we're kind of in an unknown. But go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Why do you see a major gap between some of the schools like Batavia and us? Like what's the
Valuation and their community and what that dollar, it's probably more state dollars driven that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like for us, I mean, Claremont County was like, if not the largest, one of the largest on that growth at 39%. I mean, and that's what we got. And being at the 20 mil floor, it hit a lot more. I mean, it's for some of these districts here, it just could be, you know, their state share of what they got.
Okay.
Yep. Well, property values increase so much around Cincinnati.
It drives
Columbus
the-
carry
yeah.
the most, better
It's huge.
more than anywhere else in the state.
Which, yeah. Sorry about that. So, really, we talked about this. The House passed its version of 96 on the state balanced budget. It includes a provision that will significantly impact our district across the state. The bill proposes capping school districts off with carryover to 30% of their expenditures, penalizing districts with a higher reserve by reducing funding. While this may sound like a technical change, it poses real threats to student programs and long-term funding planning. And I think that's the thing that's frustrating is like when we go through and on our budget and we tie everything down, we try to remain under budget. It's very frustrating when you know that you might have to cut some stuff because of what they're doing up at the state. So that's probably the most frustrating thing.
I'm old enough to be in this long enough now that 10 years ago, 12 years ago, they told districts at this point in time, you should be reserving more money. You should be creating your own rainy day fund because we can't continue to fund it. So what districts have done, if we've heard that, we've made financial decisions over time to have that so that we can do things to, you know, fix campus, fix roofs, whatever it might be, keep operations when you have those influxes. So, you know, that's really what we were told to do, honestly, from the state legislature 10 years ago, is you need to create a carryover. So that's what districts have done financially, is make decisions that you're not continually being over budget, you're trying to stay under budget. So that's what your carryover is.
Yep. Thank you, Jay. Good job explaining that. So for us, why do carryover matters for our district? And it's living cash on the 30%. Again, that is just the hugest thing right there. Inconsistent funding. So when they have the property tax reductions, what's going to happen on down the road if we cut out $6 million in 1 year and then our new number comes up? So we're going to have to cut another $2 or $3 million. So that's very frustrating to put on there as well. The rolling 5-year forecast requirement combined with the potential mandatory tax reductions makes long-term financial planning difficult. And so again, lack of the state share and all that stuff. And I think that's the thing, you know, when we're looking at our building, that is the main thing we're trying to do is like, what are we going to do when this growth really hits in our district? So the last one down there too, though, which I think is hugely important. Like when we go through and we get rated, Moody's does the rating for us, like when we went out to do a bond issue, right? How's Goshen look financially? Kind of like just if you bought a house and they do a credit report, where do you sit? One of the things they do kind of talk about is they recommend 50% of the bank because they want to make sure you're a good investment. You know, like, hey, can they make their payments same as a house? And so it's almost contradictory when you sit there and think like, man, they really want you to have a lot of your cash on hand, and yet the state's saying 30% your lit. So,
Well, and if you don't have that, the lower carryover you have, the bigger interest rate you're gonna have on the bond. So
yeah.
in the end, that costs taxpayers more because the interest is higher over a 30-year period. So it's.
So the last thing I really want to talk about is why do we have a carryover? And it's kind of like what I was alluding to earlier. Energy savings in our investment plan, we save about $420,000 a year. ESSER funds used as offset general funds, we got $3.8 million, a huge amount of money. I mean, it was more than I ever dreamt of. But we out on what we're spending on. I mean, we were not out there building buildings or doing anything of that nature. We were looking at the kids coming back from COVID and tutoring and intervention service, you know, a lot of things like that. So we offset our general fund, which helped grow that. You know, negotiations, we try to, you know, keep all of our employees paid well. I mean, if you take a drive basically north and to the west, you're hitting bigger districts of Indian Hill and Mason and that sort of thing, where that's who we're competing with on salaries. So that's a big deal. Sound investment strategies. I'd like to think that, you know, while we do have the cash, the thing that's great right now is we are averaging about $70,000 a month on interest revenue. And we take a lot of pride in that to try to, you know, do what's best for our district in that regards. And then our community eligibility program, when I put in there, that's what I was talking about earlier when we went to CEP. Everyone's categorized as DPIA. And we went from $1.5 million compared to last year.
Now remember, that was just us entering a community eligibility provision grant to get students free breakfast and free lunch. It was an unknown that
It was gonna bring in that.
Yeah, we know.
Money, but
Yeah, basically this
it does, so we're using it to offset some intervention services and whatever, but we didn't plan for that this year, and that's a 4-year program. I've heard there may be some changes in that too, so we'll see what happens.
Within the period, within the 4 years.
Well, with what you're gonna, what that DPIA dollar is.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Last couple of things there, we did, outside of the CEP, we did get $685,000 in grants for school safety technology, which we did a lot of the upgrades on that. And then we negotiated agreements with our contracted services. So our busing, cleaning services, the ESC, we sat down with them and do 5-year contracts and work out where we're getting zeros and ones. And that's helped out tremendously when you're talking those kind of spends. And then the last thing was is like, you know, we have talked about a while, but the green property, we sold that. We've got that basically in reserve, just waiting for the next thing that we go out there and do on a building project or whatever comes that we may need it. All right, so where's the money that we plan for to use for locally funded facilities and projects going forward? And really, in just a nutshell, is like we know right now that passing a bond issue is not going to happen. So just looking, and we're just watching houses go up and houses go up and houses go up, and watching kids starting to come into our district, and we're running bus routes. And that's going to be at some point, you know, are we going to add a couple of classrooms to this building or that building, or do we need more modulars? And I think that's probably the biggest thing that's going to be, you know, we're going to be looking at on down the road is that when this growth does hit us. So just, I think that's kind of it. Any questions? Any
Questions with the financial updates review?
Good job.
And legislative.
Moving on to new business 7E, financials 1 through 11. We have a motion.
So moved.
A second. Melissa has the motion. Lisa with the second. Any discussion?
Obviously, that's a big, 2 big contracts, and I do want to thank the Goshen Education Association and our support staff personnel for a successful negotiation season. And being great teammates in this work that we do for kids. And I do feel like, 3-year contracts with those are beneficial for the district of Stotza and our staff, and we appreciate the heck out of them. And I'm glad to get this one behind us and keep moving forward. Then you also have exempted employee handbook and those as well. So it's a few financials, but the two big ones are our negotiated agreements and being 3-year negotiated agreements.
Thank you for your work on that. Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Paprocki?
Yes.
Mr. Rare?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Moving on to new business F, personnel 1 through 12. We have a motion.
Second. Second.
Corey, second. Any discussion?
It's a long list of hirings.
Yeah,
It's a
looks
time
like
of the year where we've got teachers moving from 1 year to 2 year, 2 year to continuing. Couple resignations. We do have another resolution to initiate the procedures under Ohio law for reemployment of rehired with a 32-year change with STRS. Troy Smith has reached 32 years this year, and I need a director of operations and not walking out on me in June. So we're initiating that process to do a retire rehire with Mr. Smith. That is number 12, but it is a long list of hirings. We've got great people in great spots, and we're putting them in the right spots on the bus and forward. So it's a big personnel month.
Any additional discussion? Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Rare?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki?
Yes.
Moving on, new business G, athletic personnel 1 through 5. Do we have a motion?
So, second. So moved.
I'll second it.
Corey made the motion. Bill, second. Discussion?
Just reminding, we've got supplementals in there. I will say there's one big change inside of those supplementals, and it's part of those conversations that we've had with within our athletic department. Greg Miller is going to take on the reins of the high school athletic director. Scott Wake going to be the assistant athletic director and mentor Greg. So that Greg's ready to go, and Scott finds that time. But I think that's a great transition in our department. We always try to be proactive if we can with those situations and in conversations with those two. Scott's excited to mentor Greg. Greg's ready to take the reins and go. So I think it'll be a great combination there.
Any further discussion? All right, Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki?
Yes.
Mr. Rare?
Yes.
Yeah. Moving on to new business age personnel 1. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Lisa, second by Melissa. Any discussion? Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki?
Yes.
Mr. Rare?
Abstain.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes. Moving on, new business I, miscellaneous. We have 3 items. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Corey made the motion, Lisa second. Any discussion?
Anytime we get those, it's great, but the one for Joe Spalding, Jane for his scholarship. The LE continue to support us, and then the big agency stepping in for that middle school renovation. Got great people that support our schools and great organizations, so we thank them for those generous donations.
Absolutely, get your gas at the LE.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All right, Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Pat Rocky?
Yes.
Mr. Rare?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Energy saving.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to new business J, policy motions. So these are the policies we reviewed. And we had our first reading last month. Would anybody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Fitting. Lisa and Corey serve on our policy committee. Any discussion? I want to thank everybody who took the time to do this. Mrs. Scherzinger, I know this was a big thing over the last year, and everybody that attended all the meetings to really review all of our policies and update every little dot and cross T.
I think it was great too.
was
We had a
incredible.
representative, like whatever policy was or who it affected, like
Mhm.
to get their input was great.
Yeah, so thanks for everybody's time on that. Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Pat Rocky?
Yes.
Mr. Rare?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes. All right, moving on, new business K, Board of Education reports. Melissa.
Yes, I will. I can just send this. So yeah, really great things at the Board Leadership Institute and some really good ideas that came out from student achievement and just ways I think that we can, showcase our community better, in the future. I think my favorite idea, I'll just summarize it and then I'll just forward this on to everyone, but is from Hilliard City Schools was a way to communicate the vision to the community and showcasing the portrait of a graduate is to have the GNN interview recent graduates and say like, hey, this is what they're doing. And, some are, college graduates, some went straight into the workforce, some are military. And then, and use that to say, hey, here's, how they brought that to life. So I thought that would be a really good thing that we could showcase. I thought that was a great idea. And then one thing, I don't know, I've never heard of this, but they said school CEO, that publication, they said is a free publication and it has lots of good ideas. So we can all have something for free. But there's a few other things that I will send, but hey, there's school CEO. So I don't know, sign up for it and you might get a whole bunch of spam in your account. But.
Melissa, Bill?
Great Oaks, this is our senior ceremony week. Tonight was Scarlet Oaks. I believe Mrs. Walker attended that one, so we missed that one. I'll be at the Live Oaks tomorrow night, and then Thursday night we have Laurel Oaks graduation. I'll be at that one also. Then Wednesday I have the Great Oaks board meeting, so it's a busy week. I attended the Ohio High School Athletic Association meeting, the liaison meeting a couple weeks ago. They talked about the additional divisions we have now in volleyball, basketball, baseball, softball. This past year, since the new divisions, they had 5 first-time boys state champs and 4 first-time girls state champs in one of the divisions. So that's pretty cool. They're also evaluating division tournaments. Also, there's some kind of thing, and Mr. Schenkel, you might know more about this, like something about like if the low team takes the bye, because some of the higher teams like they don't want the bye in the first round of the tournaments, the postseason tournaments they want to play, and so the low team takes the bye, and then if they win one game, the next thing you know, they're one runner up in there. Yeah, so something good. So they're evaluating that. What else I discussed was it's pretty cool. Girls wrestling now has been a OHSA sport now for a few years. During the COVID season or before the COVID season, there were 250 girls wrestling. Now there's 5,000 girls wrestling in Ohio. That's amazing. And it's
I know
crazy.
it's been a lead conversation. It's just, can we sustain it?
Yeah.
And some years you have it, some years you don't, so it's how do we,
Big hot topic.
when you hit the numbers, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty good too.
Yeah.
Continue.
Oh, yeah. And there's also, they had a student leadership conference this past year. It was in Princeton High School. I'm not sure if we participated.
We did not do that when we did
Okay.
the Hines. We chose Hines this year for student leadership.
Okay.
Okay, middle school and high school. That was the Anthony Munoz one, I believe.
Gotcha. Also, I attended BLI. I also went to good sessions on finance. Of course, that's always interesting. Good to know that we're doing things right, because you hear a lot of districts that are just jacked up. But also another one with community engagement, and they're showing, the ladies showing everything to do, and I'm like, yeah, we do our senior citizen dinner and it rocks. We got a huge turnout for that every year. But yeah, as she showed one, it was actually it was prom themed, senior citizen prom themed.
Oh
And
my gosh, that would be so.
that was
Yes.
pretty cool. But also some things too, like engaging the community, how they can sign up for newsletters or something. So I think maybe we can make that a little bit easier or whatever. I'm going to discuss with Mr. Bailey about that, some of the things I learned while I was up there. That but BLI, I can't speak highly enough about it. It really, it's just board members. It's not superintendents and treasurers messing everything up. They talk to board members. They talk to board members. They don't come up with a list of 300 acronyms. They'll say what it really means. That's because you guys say it every day. So acronyms I'm not great with. But no, it's great. Every year I go, I said, okay, I probably learned all there is to learn.
We have them hosted not on UC's graduation week.
I know. I thought you were going to make it this year too. I was like, yeah, Deborah's going to be here. And that was, but yeah, it's great. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you, Bill. Lisa?
So for legislative, Todd kind of stole my thunder with House Bill 96.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I appreciate it. I do want to add to that, though, that over 400 school district treasurers, superintendents, and board members gave testimony in opposition of House Bill 96. And that is the largest amount of opposition testimony that they have had for something school related in the House. So that was impressive to read that. So from BLI, one of the sessions that I really enjoyed was the mock board meeting that they put on for us, and a couple of the things that they reiterated is that consistency is key. So if we're going to do something one time, we need to make sure that we follow through with that, which we do. And they talked about public participation and the policies regarding that. And one thing that I found interesting was that that there are quite a few districts that actually do public participation before the meeting, so that we're able to, because in a board meeting, we're not really supposed to respond in that. So we're taking it out of that board meeting to where they can come with their concerns and we can listen and we can engage, since it's outside of the board meeting. If that's something that, and the majority of the schools that do that, they do like 30 minutes before the meeting, they have a public participation session. And then it stops at the 6:30 mark and the board meeting begins.
And that was just 2 board members that would be present at that.
Right, yes, so it doesn't have to be all 5 of us. It would be 2,
it can't
yes.
So it's not a public meeting.
Right,
Correct,
right.
correct,
And
yes.
that way they get some engagement.
It's more of a
People maybe
discussion.
are more comfortable speaking. They say, hey, I have a question, and then you can go back and forth on that. So that's interesting. They said they had, some meetings they'd have whatever, a dozen or so people. Sometimes they wouldn't have anybody show up.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, maybe they said.
Do they
get a lot
have
of information.
administrators there? Or just
Yes.
2 board members?
They said that they would,
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they
that
did.
they normally had at least one administrator, sometimes both superintendent and assistant superintendent were there, or the treasurer, yes. So I just thought that it was interesting. It's not something that I've ever heard of being done before, but they said that a lot of school districts, not a lot, they have several school districts that have moved to that because it is more of an informal conversation that the public can have with the board members, where there can be that type of discussion.
And one thing to that, they also said that sometimes during the session, it's, if it is during the board meeting, it's called public comment because they're not really participating in our board business meeting. It's comment. And
right,
I thought that was interesting. And the mock meeting was put on by the lawyers. They were the actual.
Yeah, so that was really good. And then the other session, Melissa talked about it, the strategic storytelling session, I thought was really good as well. And just to add to hers, one of the takeaways that I got was develop messaging for scanners, skimmers, and readers. So you do brevity, bold, and bullets, and communication and that for whatever we're sending out, so that we're making sure that the scanners, the skimmers, and the readers all enjoy it. Yes, yes. But that was a very, very great educational professional development conference. So thank you for allowing us to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for attending. Corey?
Just the obvious, the firehouse, it's starting to take shape. So I'm still waiting on a message from the township, but I reached out to him earlier, but just that's about all I had for that. So.
And then audit and finance, we have a June 5th meeting that we'll be following up on, and Goshen Education Foundation is running a fundraising campaign for the George Rice Field at this time. So connect with that if you're interested. And our golf outing is almost sold out. So if you want to participate, go ahead and make sure you sign up. It's close to being sold out. Does anybody have any questions for one another? Any comments? All right. Moving on to new business L, superintendent's report, Mr. Bailey.
All right, for time's sake, I'm gonna make this short and sweet because you guys have covered most of it. Oaks graduations this week. We did have 11 kids at Scarlet tonight, so congrats to them because they've already graduated. We do have 35 tomorrow for Live Oaks, and also our senior scholarships are tomorrow night. I will be attending that. Tom will meet you there, Bill and Lisa, for that Live Oaks at 4, and then Laurel is on the 15th. And then our high school, I gave you your parking passes for the 22nd. There's a lot that you can get in. Mrs. Walker sent you the details on that. I wish our middle school good luck on their trip to DC. Always an exciting time to be an 8th grader and head to DC. I know they'll be doing some updates here as we kind of go through those 3 days, but great experience. Appreciate the board for allowing those type of experiences for our kids. Our annual staff recognition, you guys are all invited to. That's our end of the year last day celebration with our staff. Starts at 7-ish, breakfast, and then we'll kick off and recognize years of service and retirements and that at that. Memorial Day parade, I will send out a survey tomorrow to see who's going to go. I am up in the air for that one right now with the opportunity I may not be able to pass up, but I'm hoping to be there. But we will line up. We will have a bus. If you want to walk in front of the bus is really for the band to get them back. So we'll have candy and all the fun stuff. But it will be line up at 9. Parade will kick off at 10. You guys know the drill on that one. Reminder of our June board meeting dates. June 9th is our regular, and then Todd's financial special is June 20th. And that's at 7 a.m. That's our morning meeting for Todd to close the books to get with the county. So quick one usually isn't too long unless there's a couple personnel things that need to happen on that. So that all depends. And then lastly, I do want to, I know I put out a email and I just want to bring it to the board's attention. TikTok, and nothing that I'm ever on, but boy, is it a great place for kids to pick up really dumb things to do. Currently, we've identified 25 intentionally damaged Chromebooks. Problem with that is there's a potential for that lithium battery to possibly be punctured and catch fire in the future. So we have taken those 25 computers. Given the limited time we have right now between the end of the year, Mark's working with his team to collect all the computers. We're going to look at every computer. You can see the damage there. It's not, you're going to notice it. If somebody stuck something in there to short out that computer, you're going to notice it. And currently right now, we give every one of our students a Chromebook at no charge. You look around other districts, there's big technology charges. We hand them a computer and we ask them to return it in the same manner. I know that there's probably going to be some unhappiness, but we're going to charge these kids for the damage to that computer because you can't fix a blown up USB port. You can't fix a blown up battery. And those computers are about $274 right now.
Not to mention the risk.
We'll be communicating, correct, the risk to themselves, the risk to
family.
if it's happening in a classroom. I mean, there were plenty of news stories. Fortunately, we weren't a news story of computers catching fire, buildings having to be evacuated. I'm really hoping that we've nipped it at this point, but we're going to have some damaged computers. So we'll be communicating with those families, working through the process of what happened. They sign an acceptable use in the technology contract that says they're going to turn those computers back in. There's always things, we drop it, we break it, we replace that. You stick something in the USB port and melt it, that's not an accident. So
Remember that TikTok trend when people were ripping stuff out of the bathroom?
yeah, I remember all the TikTok trends because they're all so. It's unfortunate. I do feel like our administration at each building got on the PA once we're aware of it. And we probably cut down on the number, but we didn't get them all. So we're going to be working through a process to make sure that we work with the families of those damaged computers so that we can have computers to hand to kids next year. That's the other side of it. So questions on that? Hopefully we communicated well enough with families and kids and it stopped, but we'll be looking at every computer this summer. Our tech interns will start with it. We'll work through to the administrative side. All right, that's all I have.
All right, any questions for Brian? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved. Second.
Bill made the motion, Corey second. Any discussion? Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Rare? Yes. Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Mrs. Brocky?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 9:22 p.m.
West James.
Teresa.